Greek in the center, and the peacocks, which are symbols of immortality. So, that again predated the fire. Along the altar, along the communion rail, we have alternately wheat and grapes, the bread and the wine, symbolizing the bread and the wine. The choir panels here start over here, and they tell basically the history of the church. Here is Bishop Moore commissioning Davenport Phelps in 1801 to come out and civilize the wilderness. In 1804, now you've already been to Rose Hill. In 1804, the covered wagon here represents the Virginia people coming from Virginia. This is the original wooden building that was the original church and the first church in Geneva. John Henry Hobart, for whom the college is named, said on a visit, and you can see his walking stick, "This is where I want my college." And so that commemorates his picking the site for what is still Hobart College. 1838 was the primary convention of the Diocese of Western New York, when the Episcopal Church stopped being all of New York State and was split to Eastern and Western. And they continue over here. This was when the first stone building was consecrated. This is the architect pointing out what he has in mind for perpendicular Gothic. 1844, it was consecrated. In 1931, the first diocesan convention of the Diocese of Rochester broke away from Western New York, and that took place. Of all of them, this I find the most moving, because this is 1932, and it's of the fire, and I think the carver just did a magnificent job on the flames. There was nothing left here except the outer walls. And so you see the outer walls there, and you can see the flames.
How did the fire start?
They don't know. They think it must have been some sort of malfunction in a heating system or something. But we know a lady who just died last year. She was 100. And she was, in 1932, at a young people's dance out here in the parish hall, and she said, suddenly people said, "You need to leave, you need to leave, you need to leave." And she said, "None of us asked any questions, we just obeyed." And when they got outside, they could see the flames taking up the building. So it was a wonderful story to hear her tell. And as I said, in 1 year, which is pretty phenomenal, I still think, it was rebuilt, and this is the bishop knocking on the door. That's the way that the reconsecration of a church, or the consecration of a church, begins, is by the bishop knocking on the door and asking for admission. Behind the altar, the reredos, is kind of interesting. There are 5 panels, and they're all of the life of Christ. The Annunciation on the far left to Mary, his mother, and her visitation to her cousin Elizabeth. In the center, behind the cross, is the Nativity. And then the Magi, seeing the star of the east. And then his presentation in the temple. The frame for the reredos has, again, carvings. And I always talk about the carvings because I'm so impressed with the work. But they tell the story not of this parish, but of the church itself, Christendom. And the first one is Bishop James the Less over on the left.